Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to USTA Eastern's College Week. Thank you for being here today and for participating in our first annual live streaming college showcase tournament. Thank you to East Brunswick and the staff here for making this possible. Thank you to USTA Eastern staff that's here today. And if I haven't had the pleasure to meet all of you, I'm sure I've talked to you at some point in my career. I'm Julie Bliss-Beal at USTA Eastern. We have Gustavo Loza and Elena Bantasca, who's over by the stringing machine. And we have Kristen Semple. So thank you, Eastern staff and East Brunswick, for all your hard work and making this happen. Hopefully a lot of you guys were able to join us last night for the 2 webinars that we had with former pro player Eric Budarak. If you were not able to tune in, we have recorded them. He has an amazing journey. He was one of like 3 players that graduated from Division III tennis to go on and have a career on the tour. And now he's the director of operations for the US Open. So it's a phenomenal story. He's a great presenter. If you missed it, we are sending out a recording of it. We also had Scott Trively with USTA national staff. I mean, he's been involved in college recruitment and college placement for over 25 years. And I think he knows every college coach in the country, right? And everybody knows him. And he's been a phenomenal resource in helping parents and players understand the NCAA, the nuts and bolts of everything that goes into this process. So if you weren't able to tune into those 2, those recordings will be sent out, as well as the recording we're going to share with you now with our wonderful panel of experts. But before I get to them, I do want to let you guys know that we do have some other coaches observing here today. And I see Steve from Goucher. So I just, because they're here and they've made the trip to be here, I just want them to say hi and for like a minute, tell us who you are, a little bit about your school. And
Sure. My name's Stephen Baum. I'm the head women's tennis coach, but the guys here, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I'd be happy to get you in touch with our men's coach. Goucher is located just outside of Baltimore, Maryland. We're primarily known for our pre-med and biological sciences. We just had a brand new 12-court facility that got completed in summer of 2020. Excellent school, great programs, and overall, please feel free to reach out and talk. We're here for a reason.
And you will get all his contact information. It's in that spreadsheet that was sent out. And I see Tony from Endicott's also here. Tony, like a minute, just.
Hi, yeah. How's it going? Tony, I'm from Endicott College, just north of Boston. Excited to be here. Grew up at Mendon High School, so I have a couple rivals. I hope that doesn't offend anybody here. But yeah, no, excited to be here, enjoy the event, and just know from a coach's perspective, if you miss a shot, we're not going to cross you right off our list. We promise. Okay, just have fun, enjoy the event, enjoy the networking experience, and if you have any questions outside of all of that and the recruiting process, would be more than happy to help you along. Just introduce yourself. Okay. Good luck today.
If you missed 2 shots, you go off the list though.
And I know Eileen is still here from Columbia. I don't know, you guys, some of you may have missed her presentation. I know Howie's not here. He's the men's coach, but if anything you want to say on behalf of Columbia?
I just want to say, well, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, so I'm a former ETA tennis player myself, so I'm biased towards the ETA player, so lots of luck, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
And I love that you still call it ETA.
Is it not called that?
No, it's Eastern, USTA Eastern, but ETA, I mean, those are the days for sure. And I think, I don't know, Hillary's she's with Rutgers. I don't know if she's still here, but you know, you have a lot of, I know Caitlin from Smith College was here too. So, I mean, there's other college coaches here that you guys can network with, as well as our wonderful panel, who I'm now going to introduce. We have Dillon Pottish, also a former Eastern junior. I've been at this for a while. I mean, I remember you when you were in the 12s or 14s, maybe. So Dillon's at St. John's. And thank you so much for being here. We have Billy Pate from Princeton. So Billy, nice to have you. And we have Nick Margiasso.
Close, Margiasso.
Margiasso from New Jersey City University, which is actually a brand new program. So thank you guys all for being here. I know Gustavo's going to moderate, so I'm going to hand it off to him. Please keep this interactive. Gustavo has a bunch of questions, but we want to hear from you guys too. That's why we have them here. So have fun.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you to all the coaches who are here today. We couldn't have everybody on the panel, so, but thank you, the three great coaches that we have. I consider them my friends as well. So, yeah, so good. So we sent a registration form to all players to get a sense of what they want to hear from you guys. And one of the questions we got the most is, what are you guys looking for in a player? And I know you all three are in a bit of different situation. One that comes a lot is player independence. So I love to hear your thoughts on what are you looking for in a player. So Nick, if you want to start.
Yeah, I mean, for us, obviously, we don't necessarily eat at the same table as Billy and Dillon here in D1, but at D3, we try to have a high-level program, and we look for kids from all over the place. But I think it's the things in between the actual, some of the tennis shots that maybe you guys don't understand how coaches are looking at. The attitudes, the way you treat your teammates, the way you talk, the way you act on the court, the way, some of those things at a showcase like this, like that's the stuff, the first thing that goes on my list, because as you guys know, everybody can play at this level. It's those things in between the shots that tell a lot about your character and some of those things. So that's from my perspective, at least.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Nick. I mean, we go to tournaments and I tell parents and junior players, I have maybe say I'm watching 20 guys play at a tournament. They're like, that's a lot. I'm like, well, one guy's going to throw his racket over the fence. One guy's going to smart off this coach or parent in the parking lot. We'll kind of catch that. I was even at clay courts last week, and the Navy coach, I probably shouldn't say this, but he's a great guy, Chris Garner. And he wasn't dressed in any Navy gear the first day. He looked like a homeless guy. He wanted to see, without the guys knowing that he was there, to see unbiased, what was going on, and so they're not playing before coach. And so you catch all this stuff, but the X factor, how hard somebody's going to work, and I think a passion for the game, especially if it's a highly rigorous school like an Ivy League school, it will be tough. So the guys who really have a passion to play still treat tennis with the utmost importance. The level we need is very high. So we don't want guys that are going to be super stressed with the academics. And that's kind of funny to say tonight, because there will be times when the work gets to be a lot. But so being able to balance that time management, and it goes without saying the athleticism, the ranking and all that, but those X factors and those other things you mentioned, Nick, are very important.
Yeah, I mean, for us, what Billy and Nick said is exactly what we look for. We get asked all the time, like, what UTR do you need? What ranking do you need? What ITF ranking do you need? And to be honest, there's no specific number, and it's no, hey, I got to be a 12 UTR. We're looking for kids that are extremely passionate about tennis, that really want to get better. I've seen all the time, and I'm sure Billy and Nick have seen kids that have had high UTRs, and they come into college and they haven't had great college careers. And then you see some kids with lower UTRs and they were just extremely passionate about tennis. And those are the ones that, that really, really want to get better. And so those are the kids I'm really trying to find. And so there's not one exact thing, but it's just kids that are extremely passionate about getting better. And that's the main thing here at St. John's. So.
No, that's great. That's a great answer. And on that note, how important is player independence? Players reaching out to you guys directly, not the parent, not their coach. How important is that, and how does that change your perception of the player?
Yeah, I'll start with that one. It's very important to me personally in our program. In fact, when it was June 15th, and we could contact the players that just finished their sophomore year. The first day, Division I, so that you have some different rules, but we could contact or reach out. Some phone numbers and emails I didn't have, so you go on Tennis Recruiting's website, we can log in, and you can kind of tell if the parents' email, but I email them, and I reference the the kid's name, and the parent writes back, oh, here's his number. So obviously the parent did that for him. So I would suggest to you guys, do your own search, create your own profile. It's sort of your brand out there. Just like I know we'll talk maybe a little bit about social media, it's like women's coaches did, but really important, your brand, and also that we have your information. And I wouldn't be too worried because you have to be a coach's login to access that information. So, but very important you handle your search and you're the first contact. My friend that was previously at Brown would never respond if a parent wrote first. He just wouldn't respond. And then finally the kid would write, okay, I'll respond. So just to, not everybody's like that, but I think it's very important. Obviously the parents have to come into the process later to maybe talk about whether it's scholarship or financial aid. That's very important actually. But I think having the player to help conduct their own search is crucial.
I think that's great insight. And we've heard a lot yesterday in Eric Wheelwright's talk, how important it is to find a good fit for your school and vice versa, right? How do you recommend players to find that good fit? Is it to look for the team? Is it for the coach, program, city?
No, I think it's finding the right fit is crucial. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that a player needs to find out. So, it's visiting the school, it's chatting with the coach, it's meeting the kids on the team. It's all these pieces to it that, you need to be, there's just so many schools. So, for us, it's, and like your previous question was like, about parents versus kids, for us, we're spending time with the kids, we're not with the parents. So for us, it's getting to know those kids and getting to know, if we're with them for 4 years, we want to see what we're getting. So that's important for us.
What about you, Dave? Why are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, same thing. And I was actually talking about, Coach, a little bit is do some research and once the coaches reach out to you at these events or when you go in and Gustavo, when they list the coaches there, research the schools there. So when a coach comes up, you kind of know, if you might have interest in the school and things like that that you don't think about initially because you're thinking, I want a scholarship. You're thinking of like, myself and NJCU and Jersey City and Coach Dillon, we're in the heart of basically Manhattan. So you're in the biggest city in the world. Your life is going to be very much of you're going to be on subways. You're going to be in the middle of big packed areas. You're going to be doing, nightlife and all kinds of different things, culture that may be overload for you as a freshman if you're from a farm in Idaho, or just think of things like that as well, the whole lifestyle. Sometimes I'll talk to a kid on the phone and I'll tell them like, hey, this is a day in our life. Sometimes when we go to a tournament, we'll go on a subway and we think it's fun and we'll stop at a hot dog cart and they're like, listen, I've never been away from my family's house ever. Coach, it sounds really cool, but like, it's not really for me. So I would take, kind of research all those things, including the geography, so that what might fit your lifestyle and what you might be interested in and comfortable and uncomfortable with.
No, absolutely. New York is a very unique place, New Jersey as well. So you have to do your research, like you said. And we've heard a lot what are coaches looking for in a player, but what should players look forward to in your schools? And I know all of you are very particular. So what should they look for in terms of how many hours of practice, academics, tutors, winter, summer breaks? I'd love to hear from you from 3 different perspectives. Dillon, you want to talk?
Yeah, no, for us, so we're very similar to Princeton that we have, we have a fall season with a bunch of tournaments. And, our real season's in the spring. So that's our dual season. And during that time between the fall and the spring, you get the holiday break off. It's about a month. So we want, players to be playing. We want them to be playing tournaments. We want them to be, because they're going to be leading up to the spring season. So that time is crucial. Because the real season, like I said, is in the spring. So for us, it's a pretty intense schedule. We're practicing about 2 hours a day, and then we also have individuals as well. So we work privately with the kids to get them better. And then, we have our gym sessions. So we have our own trainer. So we're with them 3 days a week. And then practice 2 hours a day, like I said, and then some individual work as well. So it's a pretty intense schedule with school, with the social life aspect of it. But we want kids, like I said, that are really passionate about tennis, that really want to get better. St. John's is a private school. It's located right outside Manhattan, so you got a lot of advantages being right there. And yeah, so it's that's kind of like the day in the life.
Yeah, as Dillon said, we're sort of being Division I. We're allowed 20 hours per week that we can require the players to work. And probably the most common question we get is, what does the daily schedule look like? And I don't think we differ much from USC or Florida, Georgia, Texas, whatever the so-called big Power 5 schools, because we all use the 20 hours. It's just how you allocate those hours. So we probably practice about 2.5 hours a day. As Dillon mentioned, we do individuals as well. We have to count those on the 20 hours. So if you're very ambitious, a boy wants to come in for 2 hours a week or 3 hours from the coach, we have to count that as part of the 20 hours. So we usually get right to 20 hours, and that includes fitness too. I think probably at a truly rigorous school, like an Ivy League school, I think the social life is there, but it's probably not as much as where I've been at state school. So, but that sort of helps time management. We have guys that are very serious about school and tennis, and I think that's the one thing we talk. We kind of assume when people show interest in us in the Ivy League that you're already interested in academics. So really, we want to make sure you're super passionate about tennis. As I said, when the rigor hits, we want to see guys who can manage their daily schedule. And get everything in. And we always tell kids that you have 24 hours a day, assuming you do get 8 hours of sleep. Maybe some days you don't, and then you've got 16 hours out of that. The good thing is if you're in a brick and mortar high school now, and you're not online, you're probably used to going to school 6-7 hours a day. When you get to college, you're only in class 2 or 3 hours a day, so you have a little more time there. But it's what you do outside the classroom. So you have plenty of time as long as you manage it that way and you break down your 24 hours from sleep, from eating, getting to class, to practice, and fitness, and then you can kind of see what's left over. And usually our guys, maybe 1 hour is available for some social or kind of goofball time maybe in a given day.
I know D3 is different.
Yeah, it's different. We're a little bit more lenient with our rules, and while we do have ranges of weeks we can practice and things like that, we have a little bit more time during the week that we can practice. That said, we use it in the same way that the bigger D1 programs do. We have a trainer, we have gym time, we do cross training, we do aquatic fitness. We're not just always on the tennis court because again, like I had said earlier, like everybody can sort of hit. It's like things that you don't think about is like, how long can I stay out on a court in the hot sun? And so you got to focus on things like fitness, where you really, sort of trying to sharpen the diamond or polish the diamond, so to speak, that nothing's left unturned as far as the things you can do and utilize at your school and the facilities to get better. And I think it's important coming back to your initial question, what you should look for if you're a player looking at a coach. You should look for a coach who is pushing you towards those things. I think it's an old adage to say, like, sometimes kids feel like the coach will come down hard on you. Well, if we're coming down hard on you, it means because we see something in you that we want to push you to great. So I think don't always look at it as a negative. Look at it as the coach is trying to challenge you because he sees something in you. And I think it's important to make sure you can discern those things with your coaches and that he is trying to do that with you, him or her.
No, absolutely. I know. I love that you guys have all three have different perspectives. And one of the questions we've had also, we see lately we've seen more and more players playing on the tour right after college, right? Eric Buderek's a prime example of that from D3 to Australian Open final, right? So how, for kids that are thinking of doing that or have that dream, how important is to find the right school, or does it matter and it's more on a personal level? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll speak first. we sort of, I think, hate the narrative in the Ivies that if you go to an Ivy school, you can't play professionally. You know, we have a guy out there still now playing that's, he's been up to 200 ATP. Obviously, James Blake went to Harvard and did quite well. We use Eric Buderak as a great example who played D3 and it's done well. So I think kids get caught up, recruits get caught up into this, like there's certain schools that can produce a pro player. And we as coaches know that you can go to any of these schools and you can be a pro player if it's in you to work hard enough and utilize the resources you have. So I think it's a little bit of a fallacy that there's a certain school you have to go to. Granted, you do need some level of resources, opportunities to play. But we feel like I think any school gives kids that today because athletes get more and more resources today, whether it's the fitness room, the coaching. And you imagine when some of these guys, we marvel at the fact they turned down going to college or a scholarship and go pro. And now they're having to pay a lot of money if they don't have any kind of sponsorship to get their rackets strong, the travel, the coaching, all that's included if you go, even if you go to a non-scholarship school like an Ivy. So I think that's we try to recruit kids that want that passion, whether or not they can make it. We all know it's really hard. I think our smart kids know it's very difficult, but some of them, after they finish for us for 4 years, they're a little bit kind of burnt out with it. They don't want to go straight to a job, so they go play for a couple of years, get that worldly experience, and it's a great conversation when they go back to the interview process for a job, and maybe they got to 600, 700, 800 in the world, got a few points, got to go to a lot of cool countries, see a lot of different things. So that's kind of what we actually want.
Yeah, no, I mean, for us, it's very, very similar to what Billy said. You know, we want guys that are extremely passionate, like I mentioned before, and have that drive that, hey, if I want to go pro, I have that option after St. John's, or if I want to go get a job in New York City, I have that option too. But we want people that have that mentality, like, hey, I want to go to the next level. You're going to have all the resources at St. John's to do that. You know, we've had some pro players, you know, Vasco. So yeah, so we've had some pro players, and we have this guy who's, you know, the professional trick shot guy on Instagram, on Steph Wojcic. He went to St. John's. So, you know, so we have guys that have been, you know, that are now in the pro realm and pro world that have gone to St. John's. And so, yeah, so like Billy said, I mean, you can go to any school in the country, but if it's not within you to get to that next level, then it really doesn't matter. So,
yeah, and I think it's important as well, you know, sort of like Coach said a little bit, that you can get burnt out, you know, doing this at a certain point. Like, make sure you're also having fun. Like, make sure you don't get college back, you know, like, so it would be cool to go pro, but if you find a lot, at least all my kids and a lot of the kids who have success in college, they find something in college that they didn't know that they had that passion for about tennis. Maybe in the juniors, when you're playing high school and you're running around, you're trying to sort of grow up a little bit. You come to college, you get to be on your own. You get to see where tennis, sort of the importance tennis has in your life. And for a lot of kids, they find that, you know, it is a passion of theirs, and whether they want to try to go pro or be a coach or, you know, any number of things, work at USTA Eastern, you know, whatever it might be, it's a good time to find that passion, you know, for tennis, and whatever comes of it, you know, is the amount of hard work you put into that. So whether that's being a pro player, or like I said, some of those other avenues, you know, that it's a good time in college to find it, and you can find it anywhere, you know, if you do your research and you find the right match.
Absolutely. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this new topic, right? Name, image, and likeness. I know it's very, Scott touched upon yesterday in one of our webinars, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on how is that going to impact college, if it's going to impact college. And we also heard some of the women's coaches talk about the negatives of social media, but this could be a positive. Or do you think it could be a positive? Why are you thinking that? I know it's very new, but we have some questions.
It's so new that it just obviously, you know, passed, and I probably should have put more time thinking about it. And I was sort of under the assumption it wouldn't be as helpful to tennis as it would be the revenue sports. But we've already had 2 of our players that emailed this morning to our compliance director. She's the one in charge of the NCAA rules, and And they have some opportunities. Our number one player has an opportunity with an energy bar. And another player from Australia has some opportunity. We thought it was like hair product. His hair is always perfect. So maybe that seemed like a nice marketing match. He really cares about his hair and it's like, you know, what he does look like on Instagram or whatever. So I think that, and I know what you're kind of getting. I think I know what you're getting at going into the image, just like I was saying, your brand. You need to clean up your you know, social media, make sure, because we tell our guys the same thing for employers, look at, you know, what you're posting. So I think it should be genuine content. We actually have a guy on the team too. This is one that I knew would maybe NIL would help, is he majors in electrical engineering and he loves music and he's programming his own music. And he's got close to getting a label and really crushing it in the music world, using his degree, you know, where we are. But there was always this like, well, is it because he's an athlete that he's getting this, or because he goes to our university, he's getting that? And now the NIL is going to allow him whatever he wants to do with his music and leverage his university and his tennis career to push his music. So that's where I see it helping. That's just really started a couple weeks ago, so I don't know. That's just two, 3 examples, but I think it might be helpful for some of you guys going forward. And when you get to a college, wherever it is, I'm not sure about your situation, Nick, but that's just been our situation for just 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I know it's very new, but I think it should change college in a good way. I love to, at this point, I love to open it up. I know we have parents, some players. I know a few had to go to their matches, but is there anybody have a particular question for Billy, Nick, or Dillon? Chance.
The girls were talking.
I know,
You guys
right?
are locked in right now.
Yeah, and I know a few had to go to their matches. So, but I'll ask you a couple that we got from the phone. And one was specifically for you, Billy, Ivy Leagues. How is support admissions? Right? How important is to get the support of the coach first? And how does that help you with admission?
Right. Eileen's still here and she can probably speak to this as well. Obviously, it differs a little bit, but in essence, we have, I think, the same policies throughout the Ivy League, all 8 Ivy League institutions. And you have a support system where you can identify your top recruits and list them for admissions. And I really feel like as hard as these universities are to get into without athletics or something, I think athletics might be the best avenue. That it's very difficult. And I always advise kids, whether it's Ivies or the NESCAC schools or the top end academic schools where admissions is really a difficult thing, to make sure they get the support from the coach, because if they're going to apply on their own to us, they're turning down probably a lot of other opportunities. So I feel like they may really want to come to our school, but I feel like they're missing opportunities, and it shows they're maybe not as serious about tennis. They're just trying to get in on their own. And there's always some different cases, but we pretty much, I think most of the Ivies will fill their roster for the most part through those supported spots with admissions, and probably not look too much elsewhere. I don't know if that's fair, but that's probably what we're doing. So the key is, the strategy is to get in a position where you might be offered from a coach or listed by a coach. That's probably the most crucial thing, in my opinion.
I know that's ideal. We have a question, yes.
How early can you offer a letter?
Well, we, strangely enough, because we're not a scholarship, the Ivy Leagues don't offer athletic scholarships. We don't even do the national letter of intent. So it's just more of a verbal, which goes through admissions. But, we really haven't had anybody that's gotten into school and just say, no, we're not going to go, because you have to go down that road and only apply to one school. So it's really kind of like a handshake, and then they get into school. So there's no scholarship or written contract, so to speak.
It's the verbal.
It's really the verbal. But as far as offer, we can offer early. We are offering by the late fall, junior year sometimes.
You are doing some verbals junior year.
Yeah, that it's, and the language probably is more, we have to be careful, but it's more like, you know, that you're committed to the admissions process, is what the recruit would say.
Will you ever get an early review and early read?
So all the IVs can do an early academic read July 1 going into their senior year. So all the boys going into their senior year, we did that. They limit how many we can do. So it's usually the guys we're going to support at that point because it's so late anyway. Not late, but late compared to when we're sort of whittling it down. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, and another one we got is how important, or do you look at if a player did an internship before, and if they plan to do that in the summer, does that affect their chances, knowing that they might not be able to play as much in the summer? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll just jump in real quick and say, I think, and I've talked to the coaches about this, you know, before we came up here, but I think, and it goes back to your initial question of showing that initiative. Listen, no coach is going to hamstring you or have a problem with you going out there and getting an internship or doing a summer, you know, job or whatever it is that's going to try to help you, you know, grow as a person before you get into school or while you're in school. I think if anything that shows initiative, from my perspective, you know, we'll work around and help you out with that. Again, this time is for you to grow into, you know, being a young adult into a man or a woman. And, you know, during that time is where you want to experience, you know, jobs, internships, what's your career going to be. So I think we'll work with anything like that comes your way.
I think that helps as well. And the last question, Dillon, I think that's for you. How does, when the COVID impacted, we heard it from the women's coaches before a lot, and there's a lot of fifth-year eligibility player. How does that impact team rosters and a lot of teams full already?
Yeah, no, we had 2 guys on my team, so we have a pretty international team plus some Americans as well. So we have players all over the world. So with COVID, it was very tough, especially for the guys that were across the world. So we had a couple guys that had trouble getting back into the United States. So they unfortunately had to opt out. And so they were able to get the year back, plus the COVID year. So all athletes, because of the COVID year and last year, they got the year back. And then if you decided you didn't want to play this current season, that was another year too. So you're able to get 2 more years if you haven't played in 2 years. So that opens a lot of opportunities for graduate school. And, you know, if a kid, let's say he went to an Ivy League school, graduates, he can also decide, hey, I want to go somewhere to play grad school and get his Ivy League degree. Or if they come to me and finish and play at a Big East school and decide, hey, I want to go down to Florida for grad school, they have those opportunities. And that's, you know, obviously we went through a lot with COVID, but that's, you know, kind of an advantage that a lot of the students have gotten through COVID, that you're able to graduate from your first school and then play and get your degree possibly paid for. So, which is, you don't see that, you know, in many years. So to get your degree paid for because of COVID, it's an advantage to a lot of student athletes that are playing college tennis right now.
No, that's definitely change a lot of things. And anything last that you want to add? Anything that you feel would be helpful for these players, parents, coaches? We have some coaches as well.
I mean, I'll quickly say that I you know, again, we have you know, an Ivy League school, a very solid D1 school, and a D3 school. I would say to try to make sure you broaden your horizons and listen to all coaches, because you just never know where your path's going to take you. You never know when a COVID's going to hit, and all of a sudden you have eligibility. You finish your degree, but then you have eligibility left, and you may want to go somewhere else. You know, don't burn those bridges, and it's a good lesson to bring into your professional life too. You know, you want to make those relationships and hear everybody out and you know, be able to provide yourself with the best decision possible. So I think that's an important mindset to keep.
Yeah, I'm probably biased, but I feel like everybody should try to play college tennis. And there's a spot for everybody here. And every player in this tournament can play somewhere. And it's just a matter of picking the right fit. And we're seeing an abundance of really, really highly intelligent junior players, and particularly this region of the country. I grew up in the deep south, and we didn't have as many kids wanting to go to the Ivies or the NESCAC schools. But here, it's kids are very smart schools, very good grades. It's kind of in the culture to be very strong academically, so that sets up good opportunities. And the problem is we can't take all the, we get a lot of letters, and it's challenging. And so what you've seen is the NESCAC school, the top tier D3 schools are doing really well, where Dillon used to be Georgetown, and not non-scholarship school too, but they don't really have a facility that's there. But man, people are flocking to these schools, and but I think anywhere could be a fit. And then I'm not sure about your situation, but your admission's probably not as tough, obviously, but you can maybe get academic scholarships. So if you're really smart, maybe you leverage your academics to get aid there. And of course, there's financial aid of a lot of the private universities as well. So there's a lot of different ways to attack it. I just think as Nick said, kind of keep your options open, look at the fit, and be willing to explore everything around the country, and then mostly have a strategy. It really is important to treat this, have a spreadsheet, look at the pros and cons, be realistic about what your level is. I mentioned this to you before we did this, like the UTR College Fit is a really good resource. If you have a UTR subscription, you can go on there and you can look at each team's top 6, and you can see kind of how you compare. And so you want to be realistic about that. And so that's important. So those are probably my piece of advice. But I think everybody should play college tennis. I think it's great. You'll have time to do it. It might be a little busier, but it's a great experience. And employers love to hire athletes too. You've been on a team, you've been a leader. They love tennis players. It's a thing I think you'll cherish if you do it wherever you do it, for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. Dillon, last words.
I said it all. I think playing college tennis, like Billy said, is an experience that you'll remember the rest of your life. So finding that right fit is important. No player wants to go to a school and decide they want to really transfer. So finding that fit, meeting the kids on the team, meeting the coaches, seeing the school, spending time with everyone involved in the tennis program, and making sure the school has what you want to study is extremely important. I can't tell you how many kids that reach out to me and they say, "Do you have this program?" I'm like, "No, we don't." So, it's extremely important finding these pieces to the puzzle, and just find the best school for you. And like Billy said, there's a school for everyone out there. So, but college tennis is amazing, and and I appreciate you guys doing this today. Yeah, so that's it.
No, thank you. Well, those are all great points. I hope this was helpful for everybody. On behalf of USTA Eastern, I want to thank all of you three for taking the time to come here. Thank you to the parents and players that were listening, and we hope the best of luck in this season.